Hi, I'm Stephen Weber, and you're watching The Claw's Corner because Rich Sear is a sick bastard. Welcome to the latest episode of The Claw's Corner. Today's guest is the lead vocalist of American rock band Saliva. Formed in 1996, my guest joined the band in 2012, bringing in some fresh blood and putting a new spin on the Saliva sound. So please welcome vocalist, songwriter, and producer Bobby Amaru to The Claw's Corner.
Howdy, howdy.
How are you doing? Just want to let you know we lost video on you.
Oh, I know, because somebody.
There we go.
Yeah,
right.
Somebody call me, dude. We had to hire an adjuster. Sorry, I know this is off topic. That's him because they put our roof on. We had a new roof and they screwed it up and it didn't pass inspection. It was like not cool. So we're having to have it redone all over.
Well, as they say, sometimes life gets in the way, but I really do appreciate you being on the show, and we'll
it's rock and roll
for you. Exactly, rock and roll. That's what it's all about.
Like that's the stuff you deal with.
Oh yeah, it's never ending.
Right.
Well, let's start off with your latest song and why it means so much to you.
Revelation Man is a song that is about a guy who struggles with things in life and basically has to it's painting out the picture of a guy who basically hits rock bottom and to find himself again, and had to die to find a revelation, had to die to live a revelation. I think there's like some spiritual stuff in that for me too, being that guy that had to do that stuff. So I'm kind of writing about myself and in a sense, but also wanting it to connect with other people who have been there and gone through the same stuff. It's not easy, man, to get through the things that you're doing. Everybody has they like to do, and it's just, unfortunately for me, I liked it too much, and I had to, you have to make life choices, man. Do you want to be around a long time, or do you want to keep digging that deeper hole? And luckily I was able to just give it up.
Well, I'm happy to hear that. What do you want, short-term fun or be in it for the long run? So I'm glad that you finally made that decision. And also I think that's a great thing, because not only is it probably great therapy for you to write it down, but also people who maybe think that they're alone and they're the only ones going through it, they hear that and say, I can relate to this. Thank you very much, Bobby. I really do appreciate you writing about that. I felt like you were singing it to me. So you're doing so many good things in that one song, just putting your feelings on the page and letting people know that they're not alone, and also what you went through. And I'm so glad that you're on the right road now.
That's what music is about. That's exactly, music is supposed to be, the artist lays it out on the line, and the person that's listening, the listener, connects or they don't. I mean, I think that's just with any song. There's millions of songs out there, and then not everybody is going to connect to all of them. So
no, well, that's what I love, because music is the one common denominator with so many people. Somebody, they don't like you because of you like this political person, they don't like you because of this religion, but the one thing people can say, you know what, we like this band, and that's where they find that common ground. I've seen that so many times where people just spew hatred at each other, then they're like, hey, I love Saliva, you do too, all right, and then they start talking, and then they go off and enjoy their day. So music definitely brings so many people together, and I love that. So with this, I know you released that one song. Are you going to be releasing one song at a time every couple of months, or are you going to just release one full-length album all at once?
So we're actually going to radio next month in May with another song called Crows, and that's the one. We're dropping songs until the record, but that we're going to kind of focus there at radio and see what happens.
Well, I heard you mention this, and I found this interesting because obviously bands do not make their living from streaming. They make it from touring, selling merchandise. But I heard you mention somewhere when I was doing my research on you that you said now it's like a legalized payola scandal where you have to pay this person to get this done. Do you find that accurate?
You've always had to do that.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
who used to run those record companies back in the 50s and 60s? It was all like mob. I mean, you have to pay somebody to make shit happen for you.
Oh, exactly.
And they still do. I mean, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's not a secret. I mean,
oh yeah, no. I didn't think it was a revelation, but I just because yeah, I mean, I'm sure you know Tommy James and the Shondells. Supposedly they're coming out with a movie on his life, and it's all about that, how the mafia owned him, and he said the mafia was so great to him. They treated him very well. But even I go back to Alan Freed, who brought so many bands that probably would never, ever see the light of day. And he said, hey, give me a couple bucks. I mean, that was not legal. But what I'm saying is that payola scandal helped make so many bands probably never would have been found.
You're not directly paying radio stations.
Oh,
that's
no,
not
I know that, yeah.
Works. You basically, like, even if you watch like the Clive Davis documentary, David Geffen, like all those dudes were successful artists after another. First, it takes having an ear to understand a good song and knowing that the artist is great, and yeah, those guys found a lot of great artists, and because there are a lot of great artists, it's discovering what speaks to you. Those artists spoke to them, and it's like, wow, okay, I think that, like Clive Davis loved like Whitney Houston. I mean, who doesn't listen to hear Whitney Houston and go, she's fucking awesome. Like, there's just something about her voice, and you're just very drawn in, to that stuff. And I think like, but to break those artists, there's a lot, especially back in the day, like MTV and stuff. It's not just like, hey, play my artist. Okay, cool, no problem. It's very like, look, I need you to play my artist because I need to break this artist, and I need like this amount of spins every week or whatever it may be. And it's definitely, someone's getting paid. People are getting paid. You don't have to wave the money around to them in order for them to get paid. There's ways they're getting paid. So, and I think that even like Guns N' Roses, like when you read the story about Appetite for Destruction, the record was out a year before it ever blew up. It was out, Geffen was like, we're done with this record. We're not going to put any more money into the record. And then, their A&R guy, probably spent whatever last budget they had to get MTV to play the Welcome to the Jungle like late at night, 3 nights in a row, and boom.
Yep.
Biggest debut rock record of all time.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like,
no, obviously they're getting paid for a reason. They know what they're doing, and they know how to get the songs into the right hands and get it out there.
It's a machine. Now it's just a lot more confined. Like, the machine is more, it's like a cycle. Just everything kind of is real repetitive on how they do it. It's like, all right, we're going to put a new record out. Okay, cycle. Let's go hit the festivals and do this. And then, all right, 18 months, 2 years later, let's put another record out. It's very consistent. We haven't put a record out in 4 years, so we don't know what that's like anymore.
Yeah.
So we're kind of behind the game here, but we're excited to put new music out, man. And every artist or band is, when you go and make a record, it's like you're putting your life out there. Mm-hmm. And I think like, for us, we love creating music, and we want to drop more songs. We want to be able to go and just play rock and roll for people, man. We love doing it.
Yeah, well, I'm so glad that things are finally getting back to normal for the most part, where I've gone to concerts, the place is packed, everybody's having a great time, the bands sound great. So I'm glad that things are finally starting to get back to normal. I hope it stays like that for a long, long time. So last May, Saliva celebrated the 20th anniversary of its major breakthrough album, Every 6 Seconds. So I want to talk about the EP, Every 20 Years.
Mm-hmm.
So you released that, and you re-recorded some of the songs that was recorded by the old singer, and you released that EP to celebrate the 20th anniversary of that album.
Yeah, that was just for the fans, really. We wanted to do something for the 20th anniversary, and it didn't seem like anybody was doing anything for the 20th anniversary. So
yeah,
kind of spoke about it. But it's funny because we had already had like a couple of those songs recorded. Like no one knew about it. And we, during like the pandemic and stuff, we recorded a lot of new songs, recorded like a lot of covers. We were just in a creative mode. I think a lot of artists and bands were, during pandemic, you're home. So you're like, well, let's just make a bunch of music. And that was just part of that. Like originally we thought that we were going to do a covers record, and then we were just going to throw one or two of those songs on there. And then it turned into, maybe we'll do like an EP of every 20 years. And then the other half of the of the record would be like half covers, half remakes. And then for whatever reason, it just didn't really pan out that way. And we just put out the just an EP of the re-records, and then we added Spoon Man, the Soundgarden cover. Yeah, I mean, it was cool.
Yeah. Now, besides Soundgarden, what other covers were you going to do? Were you going to release?
Oh man, we've got a bunch that we've done. I can't really say what they are.
No problem at all. I understand.
But there's some cool stuff, man. We did like some really cool throwback. We did like some new wave bands. We did a couple grunge, bands. We did a bunch of different stuff. We mixed it up.
I love that. Cool. No, I love the fact that you could take different genres instead of sticking to the same genre, and then expose people to music they might not have even known about. So yeah, I love that. And then you put your own spin on it. So besides the EP, you also have a documentary entitled Every 6 Seconds, 20 Years Later. And in that, you mentioned how important producer Bob Marlette was in developing the sound.
For the band, yeah, in general. Like Bob had worked on a lot of stuff. And I think he was kind of finding his groove. And with him and Saliva, like the universe kind of connected with the two. And, they had a home run, man, together. And I think Bob's has a really good ear for songwriting and for melody. And, he's like a classically trained piano player. And he knows every single scale and note and, minor, major, whatever it is that you think you're doing, he'll figure out a way to make it better melodically. And, that's what was great about that record too, is that Every 6 Seconds record, there's a lot of like, every song has its own like identity. It doesn't all sound the same.
Yeah.
It's a really good balance of heavy stuff and melodic vibe, like slower stuff, dark stuff. But yeah, I mean, I'd say Bob, helped a lot. And if it wasn't for Bob, songs like Always wouldn't exist, and because that was just a story where I think the record was done, the Back Into Your System record was done, and he the label had listened to the record and was like, well, sounds like we're missing one song. And they're kind of talking about it, and then I think Bob had the idea to write a 4-chord song, and that song changed a lot of things for the band.
Well, that's why I love it. Maybe some people don't realize how important a good producer is. I know there's so many great producers out there, but I'm going to mention two. One, obviously, is George Martin with the Beatles. Watching some of these documentaries, I see how important and how integral he was. They always say Billy Preston was the 5th Beatle. He really was the 5th Beatle. And the other one I want to talk about is Rick Rubin. Everything this guy touches is gold, from Beastie Boys, Slayer, to Neil Diamond, Johnny Cash, Black Sabbath. The guy definitely knows what he's doing. And I've seen interviews with him too, and just in different documentaries. Oh yeah, why don't you try this? Do this. Why don't you listen to this? And yeah, I think most people who aren't involved in music don't realize what a good producer does for the band and how they help develop the sound.
I think a guy like, so Bob was very, because Bob worked with my band too, like in the early 2000s. And the way our band, like we went in with like a bunch of ideas, and he took those ideas and turned them into really, really great songs.
Yeah.
And we had no idea that would happen. So I got to witness firsthand on how he works and what he can do and what he's capable of. So it's almost like he was more of a development producer, you know, developing a new band. Rick Rubin had just a good ear for finding naturally talented bands who had the songs already. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people will have different feelings about a guy like Rick Rubin. Like, I know bands that have worked with him that said he didn't do a fucking thing for the record. Like, read something about it that came out today. Someone saying, I can't tell you the one thing he did on our record. But maybe on those earlier projects, like in the 80s and like, you know, 90s and stuff, he was probably a lot more involved. And then it probably got to where he could just pick and choose who he wanted to work with. And, you know, really a producer's supposed to just take, you know, the band's songs, they don't really change their sound. Just like take songs like, yeah, this song's great, or this song sucks, or let's do this or try that. Just kind of take them to the next level. But I mean, how do you take Red Hot Chili Peppers to the next level when they're already there? Yeah. So it's like a lot of those bands, a lot of those seasoned bands work with a guy like him because they know he's not going to come in and change all their shit. You know, it's more of just like a name and like, okay, the song's good. Sounds good to me, you know, roll with it. Yeah. So I don't really influence he really puts on these bands like anymore. Okay, like, you know, had a lot more, was a lot more in on the developing side of like Beastie Boys and stuff like early on. Yeah. But those bands kind of had their sound and their thing going.
Which is funny because I've seen documentaries on the Beastie Boys, and I guess they had issues with him as well. So I didn't realize that. But what I was thinking about too was more George Martin, where I guess there was something, I can't remember which song it was. Let's say it was Let It Be. They said, no, you already played piano in this, try this, or you already play guitar in this, try this. So he was maybe a little bit more instrumental in their sound over the years. And yeah, John, you already tried that. Why don't we do this? I mean, I did notice in some of the documentaries, especially the one that just came out with Peter Jackson with the Let It Be sessions, but then there was another one that I was watching. But yeah, no, it's good to have somebody that knows what they're doing, but also lets the band be what they are. Now, because of Bob, and I know the band was it Burn Season? Yeah. Yeah. And you were originally a drummer. You weren't a singer at the time.
No, I mean, I was like writing the music, and you know, I was playing drums and guitars on that record and stuff. So I was kind of doing both. Yeah. It was me and really. So it was like me, you know, handling all the music side, and then, you know, the other guy was doing the vocals and stuff. And Bob worked him like to death, like worked him hard, man. Like, you know, I think
was it because of Bob? Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
He had to buy new briefs when he was done with that.
No, what I was going to ask you, was it because of Bob? Is he the one that introduced you to Saliva and you became the new singer?
No, actually, Bob though had just gotten done producing the Back Into Your System record, and he had just gotten done with Shinedown's first record. So actually, I met Bob in Jacksonville through a mutual friend when he was here meeting with Shinedown. He was here meeting with them, and it was at Jack's Beach. And I remember he had left the meeting with them and then had the meeting with me. And we just had lunch and talked for 2 hours. And he just had a great approach about songwriting and music. And he said, I heard some of the songs you guys have, and honestly, they could be much better. And we just felt like we were young, man. I was only 18 at the time. So it was like we knew we needed somebody like that, like some guidance, you know, because we were young and you know, a lot of musicians or whatever, when they're still young, they think they know it all. But you know, it's good to have a guy like that just come in and help you, because I learned a lot from him that I still use today when I work with other artists and things like that. So, but yeah, it's super important, man. And he did a lot of big records for a lot of big bands, and you know, I still talk to him. Bob's doing great.
Oh, good.
He's still out in California. So
how did you go from drummer to frontman with Saliva then?
Oh, so there was a guy, and I live in Jacksonville, Florida. So there's a lot of guys from here, a lot of bands that have come out of Jackson, a lot of, you know, crew guys. Like, so there's a lighting guy that worked with Saliva years ago, and he also did like Limp Bizkit, a bunch of bands, and he's out with Godsmack. He was with Godsmack for years, and he's back out with them now, Jeff Riles. And he just called me one day and said, hey, Saliva's looking for a singer. I gave them some of your songs, because I'd had a bunch of songs recorded. And he and I talked about like being in a band, like he'd play drums and I would, you know, sing in this band or whatever. So I think he thought of me when he heard about that and was like, hey, you guys need to check this guy out, and sent them some songs. And it just so happened somebody else had sent them a couple of my songs too, I think. So they were like, oh, wow, let's check this guy out. They listened to the songs, and that was pretty much it. Like, they didn't audition anybody. I think they, you know, the drummer Paul sent me a text and said, hey, this is Paul from Saliva, wondering if you'd like to work with us. That was like what the text pretty much said. I think they were looking for somebody that wasn't just a singer, but somebody that like understood songs and production and producing, and was able to kind of like come in and just write a bunch of shit together, you know, and so I think that's how that panned out. So Jeff pretty much linked us up. They flew to Jacksonville, Dave, Paul, and Wayne, and we wrote 3 songs in 3 days, recorded them, and then that was like December 2011, and then I did my first tour February 2012.
Wow.
For 10 years, man.
As I say, well, congratulations, happy anniversary. And, I'm so happy that everything, it seems like it just gelled immediately for you. And that's always a great feeling, because not only you have to be talented, but you also have to get along with the people that you're going to be on tour with, living with, doing everything with. So yeah, that also makes it much easier and much better.
Yeah, you obviously, it's not all roses, man. You have to go through things, and you figure out what works and doesn't work. And, you know, 4 guys living together, you know, you just kind of learn about each other, and you, you know, it's a business, man. Now it's just not, there's no egos. There's none of that involved. Let's just have fun with it and be happy playing music. I think that's what it was. I mean, no disrespect to like the old band, you know, in the previous 10 years. But dude, I heard some stories that would make Motley Crue's The Dirt look like, I'm being dead serious, man. If some people heard some of these stories that I've heard, they're frightening, the shit that I've heard. So, you know, and I keep that in the vault, but I'm just saying, like, you realize why bands go through changes, and they go through things, and they're like, let's not do that again, you know? And it's all about, I think, 4 guys that are living together. You got to be happy, man. You have to. And if you're not, why are you doing it? It's miserable.
Exactly.
You know? Not fun. You know, a lot of these people, they'll, you know, they think it's all like 18 years old all over again. Let's go be rock stars. And, you know, meanwhile, you got managers and agents and all these people, they're just like leeching money off of you the whole time. And not saying everything is like
Yeah,
that.
yeah.
But I mean, when you turn a blind eye and you're just in the excess of everything going on, I mean, you forget about all that shit going on behind the scenes. So with this, we just want to take control of what we're doing and be able to, make, have fun with it, but also earn income,
Yeah, that's very important. Well, it's funny you mentioned Motley Crue, because I'm not sure if it's like that now, but I know when they reformed one of the times, they all had separate tour buses because they hated each other so much. And one of the band members, I think it was Tommy Lee, said, "I'm just in it for the money. I could really care less. I don't like any of these guys."
Yeah.
I mean, maybe it's changed now, maybe, but I know that when they reformed one time, they just said, "We don't care about each other." And they all had separate tour buses. So it's funny. And I know I don't even want to get into the past, so I want to talk about the present with you, but I know he left for a Christian band, Josie Scott. So I think it's funny, like you're mentioning, like stories of Motley Crue type stories, that he went for a Christian band.
Well, no, I wasn't directing the stuff to him, as what I'm saying as far as stories. I just mean in general, the band overall was going shit that made Motley Crue's The Dirt look like. I wouldn't say just all him. It's just, they'll tell a story, and here I am listening to it, and I'm like, you got to be fucking kidding me. Like, how are you alive? Like stuff like that. But,
okay. I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
But but Motley Crue thing, the kind of money they're making, of course, you're going to go go in 10 buses, decide that, today I'll be in this one and tomorrow I'll be in the blue one, like whatever, because there's so much money there for them to do that. But not every band, let me tell you what, if they had to be forced into one bus, let's see how long that would last. There's no amount of money that would be worth it. And I think that not every band has that luxury to be able to tour that way, or every band would, whether they liked each other or not.
Yeah.
Every band could afford their own bus, each person. Dude, that's how they would tour. But we don't operate that way. So we have to find ways to get along and to just keep everything cordial. And it's very, very cool.
Well, I'm glad to hear that. And speaking of getting along, were you immediately accepted by the fans when he left and you came in as a new singer?
God, no, man. No one ever is. You have to go and earn it, and every night. I still do it. I still feel like I'm earning it every night and trying to just give people a show, give people especially the fans. Because a lot of people don't know that there's been a change at singers. People have their lives. They live their lives. They work, day jobs. They're not work. What's Saliva up to the past 10 years? They don't know. They just know Saliva's coming to town. They're going to go check it out. So I've heard it all from, man, Josie, me and you were partying 15 years ago and kissing Aerosmith. And I was like, that's not me, man. That wasn't me. No, man, me and you, man. I'm like, all right, dude, I was there. I started just going along with it because at this point, I have to I want to save my voice and not, I don't want to explain for 6 hours the story to this guy. So a lot of times, yeah, man. Yeah, dude, that was cool. I remember, dude. Yeah, we were in the back of the Corvette, dude, hanging out. It was cool.
Great time. So yeah, I love it.
Oh, you know what I mean?
That is funny.
But I hear stories like that. And I think maybe it's because when they're in the crowd, stage is far away, they can't really, you just know the songs.
Yeah.
And you like the music. So, but yeah, I've been compared a lot, but I just go out and just constantly, prove myself and just give people a show, man. That's what it's all about.
Definitely. There's only, I'm sure there's more. There's two bands I could think of right off the bat that got rid of their singer, or something happened to the other singer, and then they were just as successful and maybe even more, were AC/DC and Van Halen with Brian Johnson and Sammy Hagar. They just continued and became even better afterwards. I love the David Lee Roth years, and I also love the Bon Scott years, but I also like the Sammy Hagar years and the Brian Johnson years. So I love the fact that you continued And what's funny is some people don't even realize that there's a new singer, but for the ones that do, how has the sound evolved and changed when you joined the band?
I do think it's different, vibe. I mean, musically, there's a lot of Saliva feels for sure, just with, Wayne and Paul's influence on that. But I also feel like vocally, I'm a different singer. I'm a different kind of singer. And, but I feel like the old songs, I do the old songs justice, for the fan. And that's what I try to do. I hate going to see a band with like a new singer or whatever, and it's like, this dude's like totally just, I don't know what he's doing. He's like singing it all different and weird, and I don't know. But and as a fan, you don't want to go and see that. You want to at least see it like someone putting the effort in to to killing those songs and making the songs that the fans love good. But I have my own way and my own stamp on them to where it's never going to be the exact same, and trying to do that, just doing what I do, man. And but the fans have been very accepting, but I have to go out and win them over, and I've had to do that, and I don't mind doing it. It's fun, it's challenging, but it's great.
Yeah, I would actually like that. As being the person, I would like to go out there and have to prove myself every time and win the audience over, because as you said, it's a challenge, and it makes you want to be even better. Instead of, I'm so glad you mentioned that, because I've seen these bands, I love them live, or I love what I hear, then I go see them live, and you said they completely changed it around. It's more like they're phoning in. They sometimes they seem bored on stage. I'm like, why did I pay money? I could have stayed home and listened to the record. So I love the fact that I have the same mentality as you. It's like, no, I want to hear it the way it is, but also make it a little bit different, make it exciting, put on a good live show, make it fun.
Well, I think when people go to a concert, they want to be entertained.
Yeah.
And as long as you are up there not standing like a statue and you're killing it and you're engaging with the audience, they forget about all that other shit about it being identical or whatever. They don't, they don't really, they just want to be entertained. They want to know that you have to, if you don't look like you're having a good time, then why are you there? You know what I mean? That's the thing. You have to engage with them and give them what they paid for. So
no, exactly. Because I even said this to other musicians that I've interviewed. I'd rather see a band have fun on stage and mess up instead of being so worried about, I need to sound exactly like the album. It's like, no, if I want to do that, I can stay home and listen to it at home. If I want to see a fun show, I want to see the band having fun. And when you're having fun, it's going to translate into the audience, and then they're going to have fun because they see you guys having fun. So yeah, I definitely enjoy bands that are in
rock and roll. Rock and roll is not meant to be perfect, man.
Exactly.
It's to have imperfections. It's like I'll see bands live these days, and they're just running massive tracks, man, and the singers lip singing and rock and roll band. I'm like, what is this? This is sad. You know what I mean? What it's come to.
Yeah.
And what's cool is you'll see bands that are like, from our day, from our era, like the early 2000s. You go see Rob Zombie and see Godsmack and see these bands, and they're not running tracks, man. They're playing live, and they're staying true to it, or if they're running some backing stuff, that's cool, but they're singing. I mean, the dude is up there full blown, he's singing. There's no tracks involved. But I hate to go see a band or see a band, whatever it is, and the dude's just lip singing on stage. It's like, wow,
I know
that's bad, man. Especially when it's like
well, just like I heard, I don't know how true this is, but I was listening to an interview with Sammy Hagar, and he was saying that when Wolfie took over from Michael Anthony, Wolfie and Halen, they said he could hear Michael Anthony's vocals playing through the sound system. He goes, this is just sad. He goes, I feel so bad for him. He goes, he's thrown into a situation he shouldn't have been thrown in. But yeah, they're playing tracks. It's not, and it didn't really last that long anyway with Van Halen for after Michael Anthony left and Daily Roth, but whatever. It's just yeah, I'm like you. I'd rather have it sound maybe a little bit more raw, but fun and live, and has that energy. That's really, to me, when you see a live show, I want to see that energy and feel it.
See, I thought that Wolf was singing though.
I could be wrong on that. That's the interview I heard with Sammy.
Was it removed Michael Anthony's vocals and then started singing, or because I never knew that they were running stuff.
That, unless, you know, I know there was a lot of bad blood,
right
up until Eddie died, and they made up. From what, this was an older interview when he left the band, he said that's what he was telling somebody. So I don't know how true it is, because I never saw them live with Wolfie, but he was saying they were running tracks, and because Michael always had the high voice.
I know some of those old school bands would like have a guy on the side of the stage who would be singing backups and stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes that was, you know, that happened a lot. But I mean, that's better than running computer tracks.
Yeah.
In my opinion.
Yeah.
So, and I've seen bands do that.
Yeah.
Guys stand on the side of the stage and doing stuff. I'm like, I think that's kind of cool.
Yeah.
Because it adds to the sound. I mean, it just kind of helps whatever's on the record. You know, not everybody's, you know, when you go and you make those records, those producers, their job is to make the best record possible for the record company to make a shit ton of money off of it. You know, that's what those labels paying them to do. I guarantee you, you know, the producers talking with the band and doing everything, handling that. But there's an A&R guy in the producer's ear saying, come on, man, I need the next Led Zeppelin record. Come on, man. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And that's just the way it happens. So the producer's always in the tough spot.
Yeah.
You know?
Well, it's funny. Did you ever hear of King Diamond? He's a
metal
musician. Yeah. I love King Diamond. I've seen him probably 15 times with Merciful Fate and his solo album, solo group. But there was one time he lost his voice, so he brought his wife out on stage so she could do the high notes, because he couldn't reach the high notes. But he was so great. He goes, you know what? If everybody wants their money back, I will give your money back. But if you want to stay here and see a kick-ass show, stick around. So he brought his wife out on stage, and she did some of the higher notes for him, because, you know, he can go from that low growl to the ear-piercing screams.
Yeah. And people respect that, because he was honest about it. And he was upfront about it. He didn't just hide, you know, tracks or whatever in the background.
Yeah, not at all.
Everybody wanted their money back, because you know what? Like, that's something that they'll always remember. That happened one time. And it's like, I was at that show that when his wife came up, and that's cool stuff, man. That's great. That's life. It's all stepping stones to what, you know, this universe that we live in. And like, that's just another, you know, another mark, you know. It's remember. And it's cool. I like reading stories when, you know, something will flash on Facebook or whatever, and it'll be like a concert from a certain time in the 80s or whatever, and you look at all the comments, all the people are like, I was there, man, like Monsters of Rock and stuff, all these old school concerts, and they'll like, literally, it's always the same. They always say, dude, Metallica, I felt so bad for Dokken, you know, having to follow Metallica, the whole crowd yelling die the whole time, you know. Dokken would come on and, you know, play, you know, Burning Like a Flame or something. And I love Dokken. So this is no disrespect to Dokken, but I can't imagine following Metallica when they're, you know, about to put out Injustice for All at that time.
Oh yeah.
That'd be very hard.
Well, it's fun. I live in Connecticut, and I'm not sure if you ever played in this area. It used to be or still is an amusement park. They don't have shows there anymore. It's called Lake Compounds. They had a lot of shows. Actually, it's known as the place where Milli Vanilli found out they were lip syncing. It was there in Bristol, Connecticut. Yeah. But the reason I bring that up was there was one time Alice in Chains opened up for Van Halen. They got booed off stage. And then a year later, they were massive. But it was funny. Just that one time, they were just starting to make it. People really weren't sure who they were. People were booing. And then the next year, oh, you're the best band I ever saw.
Well, that's the power of MTV and radio and stuff too, because the movement was shifting then, you know, like Alice in Chains was out before Nevermind, I would say, you know. And even though Nirvana kind of broke the barrier for a lot of the grunge bands, but like usually back in the 80s, 90s, people were excited about opening bands because that's how they would discover new music, but not a lot of times, especially with a band like Van Halen, who already had probably 10 records at the time. Yeah. And then there's a new band, Alice in Chains, opening up. All the Van Halen fans aren't going to get it. They're just like, yeah, we don't give a shit. Bring out, Eddie Van Halen. I'm sure there were some people there that was like, oh, dude, this band's great. But that's a tough act to open for in that time, no matter who you are, man. So Alice in Chains is one of my all-time favorite bands.
Yeah.
And so, but they were a new band at the time. And I think it goes back to Man in the Box, dude. Started blowing up, MTV. Yep. And what was it that the MTV guy said? What was that story? It was the program director it was Man in the Box, or it was some like hair band or whatever that had like some big deal. And I don't remember what the name of the band was. And he chose Man in the Box to add. He took a shot. Look at that, dude. It's fucking changed everything.
I love it. See, sometimes, like you mentioned we were talking earlier about the record, the radio stations, they pick a song, they have a feeling that this is going to be, and so yeah, you need that. And sometimes it doesn't work all the time, but every once in a while you get that gem that propels them to superstardom, and it's great. Right. You need those people. Yep.
Yeah, because I mean, those guys, think about the pressure they had on them at the time. Every single label, every single manager, at that, what was he doing? What is he getting at that time? Faxes and voicemails and telegrams, and it's like, play my fucking artist, on it. I bet. And he's probably like, dude, these people want to hang me, dude, because he's got to tell certain people no, you can only pick and choose whichever. But I think that was the Alice in Chains situation. It was them and some other like hair metal band, and he chose Alice in Chains, which was the right choice.
Yeah. So then you have some other combinations which I think are weird. I remember one time hearing about Stryper opening up for Slayer, which I don't know. I can't really picture it. I know. I don't know why they would do that. Maybe it was like the heaven and hell type of thing, but Slayer fans sometimes can not be as forgiving as other fans. I think you're getting another phone call, Bobby.
I'm back.
Okay, there you go. Well, I want to get back into you. So now I know what happened, and I just want to see if first, was it a shock to you and the band when Josie Scott went on this podcast or radio station and said, oh yeah, I'm going to be returning to Saliva. At first, was it a shock to you?
No, because I knew that they were talking about doing it. Wayne had said, hey, I think we may end up doing this, the reunion thing for the 20th anniversary. And I was like, dude, absolutely. I think you should. And then just the story kept changing and things were happening. And then other people started getting involved, and it turned into this whole, like, it just became messy and almost dysfunctional, to where like, let's pump the brakes and give it some time and see what happens. And I think it would be great. I think it was going to be a good thing, but it just didn't pan out. So we're like, we're just going to keep doing what we're doing, man. Create some new music, put a new record out, and he's going to join us on stage at Blue Ridge Rock Fest, which is a awesome festival. It's a great festival. A lot of great bands are playing.
And is that? When's that going to be happening?
It's on September 11th.
Yeah.
And I think it's going to be great, for the fans of Saliva, and to see him on stage. He hasn't been on stage in over 10 years, man. I think it's cool. And he just announced that he's doing like solo stuff. So he's like working on solo stuff, and he launched his site and Facebook, and dude, all respect to him and everything he's been doing. And we have nothing but respect for that guy. And I think that it's good that he's getting back out, and he has that hunger and that fire to get on stage again. So it's cool.
Yeah. Well, there's as I mentioned before, I'm from Connecticut. There's a Connecticut band named Fates Warning. They're more of a progressive rock band.
Yeah.
And they're, after the third album, their original singer left, and he went on to do other things, but they just had their 30th anniversary and they did exactly the same thing. At first, they brought him back. They did the album's called Awaken the Guardian. That was one of their biggest albums in the 80s. So they did a whole tour of that album. He came on, but then the new singer, which has been with the band even longer than him, they went on stage, sang some songs together. They had a great time. And there was no egos involved. And it was the same thing. It's just like, let's just have some fun. Let's celebrate the anniversary.
That's the way it should be, man. Because the thing is especially with social media today, like people want to rip everything apart and just assume, oh man, they hate each other and this, it's just none of that. And I think it's good to like, to be able to do a show and do it that way. And everybody's happy and it's all cool. And there's no egos. And it's, he gets to get on stage and play songs for his fans, songs that he created. And there's nothing wrong with that, man. There's no ego from me. I can guarantee you that. It's all about, I do this, everything that I've been doing. I like playing on stage. I love entertaining, and I'm going to go out there and kill it, and he's going to get up there and he's going to kill it, and it's going to be good.
I think a good thing would be is you say just he's going to be releasing a solo album. He could open up. I don't know how it would work, but if he opened up for Saliva, you guys did a tour together. I think that would be great for the fans anyway. Not sure, what the situation would be for the band, but just, have some fun with it. And like I said, you're obviously not going anywhere. You've been in the band for so long. There's no worries about, oh yeah, we're going to replace you, Bobby. So it's just, that would probably be a good thing. I think the fans would love it. Just have him open up for you guys.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what the future holds for him or what he's doing as far as touring. I know we have a lot of dates. Our year is pretty slammed. And they keep adding more and more. I'm like, Jesus Christ, I'm having a baby in July. What are we gonna do? So
well, congratulations on that.
Let's think of a third one, man. So we're excited. Little Aurora. So just getting ready for that. But we still have a lot of shows coming up, and new record, new music, and we're excited about all new things, Saliva, and we respect and the legacy of the old stuff too. I mean, my drummer and guitar player were around for all that, and they it's all good stuff.
Yeah, good. I'm glad to hear that. Let's talk about Rum Bum Records.
Oh man.
Sorry about that. Well, whatever you can talk about, I guess, because I know that it was created by Louis Picardi, and it was a record label. He liked you, and I'll tell part of the story, and you can add in what you want. He started the label, and he said, "I would love to have Saliva on my label."
Yeah, he was a fan of the band.
Yeah.
So Louis is like a multi-millionaire, basically grandson of the guy who created Bacardi liquor, Bacardi rum, Bacardi whatever, like the brand. He is the grandson. So those dudes that have nothing to worry about the rest of their life and their generations to come, and all that. Nice. Yeah. He so Louis, somebody got in touch with us and said, "Hey, Louis Picardi, he has a label and he wants to meet the band." And he was a fan of Saliva. So it's funny, his favorite song was a song called Hunt You Down, which is kind of like, I was like, I don't even know what song that is. It was his favorite song. So he flew in his private jet to meet us. And we were in like Madison, Wisconsin, and we went and met him at Bruce Chris. And he had the whole room and everything for us. And we get there and we're talking and we're chatting and we're just trying to feel him out. And he's not really saying much, he's just kind of like hearing us talk. And then out of nowhere, he says, "All right, so how much money do you guys want? And we all four looked at each other. We're like, I don't know, $5. Like, what do you say to that? And that's literally, that's the question that he asked. That was it. He said, how much money do you guys want? And he was like, what kind of deal? Like, what kind of deal would you guys like? You know, and we didn't know how to answer that. So we just said, maybe we should have our lawyer get with your lawyer. But you don't realize that who you're dealing with is somebody who's he's thinking from his passionate fan perspective. He wasn't thinking business at all, because that wasn't really him. He wasn't really this business guy. Mm-hmm. And we didn't really know that, because we didn't know the guy. So what we should have said was, we want $2 million wired to this bank account, you know, or you know, in 2 duffel bags, you know. But we didn't do any of that. But you know, all that aside, Lewis was a character for sure. He was a very, very cool guy, but he also was he was wild, man. He did what he wanted when he wanted. You know, it was, you know, one minute it's, hey, you know, I talked to this producer. I'm going to have this producer like produce your band or produce the next Saliva record. And it's like, yeah, who? Bob Rock. We're like, really? Yeah, man. I'm gonna wire him the money and everything. You're like, hold on a second, man. Like, but that's how he was. He would think with like, there was nothing that was out of the question. Yeah, you know. But you know, he was a big fan of Metallica too, so he's thinking he's gonna get Bob Rock to do our record. But he had never talked to Bob Rock, so he was just ready to hire the money, you know. So you know, if Bob Rock ever sees this, he'll be like, yeah, never got the money, or maybe he did, you know, and just shit, you know. So, but we did that Rise Up record. That was a process, man, because there was really no organization. It was just very unorganized, and you know, he just wasn't really. He wasn't a label guy. He was a fan. And I think he thought that we were just going to use our resources and use our connections and make the record fly. Mm-hmm. It was like, dude, all this money's great, but we have to properly distribute this record and like go to radio and do all this stuff. And, you know, it didn't really iron out the way we wanted it to, but you know, you live and learn, man. You learn from those things. Mm-hmm. And you're like, well, let's try to not do that on the next record.
Yeah. So you had one album with him and that was it. Then you said, all right, it sounds like he just he had a lot of money, but really no business sense. He thought money could just get him anything and anything he wanted. Like, oh yeah, I have $8 million. Here you go. I'll wire it. Dude,
so we did a video, like we went down and we did a video in Miami. He put us up in like just whatever penthouse hotel W or whatever it was. I mean, it was like not cheap. Yeah. We were there for like 2 weeks where we rehearsed and we did stuff. And then we made a video. And the guy that was directing the video had done a bunch of big artists, like the Killers and like Backstreet Boys and shit. So he like paid this dude a buttload of money to come in and do a video that no one's ever seen. It was a video for In It to Win It. So we do this video inside. And I remember like when they're like ready for my shots, they're like, all right, Bobby, come on. And I had no idea what I was walking into. And then so we like, I get in the room and then all of a sudden they're like, all right, action. And then the song kicks in and all of a sudden all this pyro starts going off like near me. Dude, we're in like a 50 by 50 room, dude. Like, so it freaked me out. Like I knew that all this pyro was about to start popping off. So, you know, that just a lot of money spent that no one ever saw. Then we did the Rise Up video. So we're like, oh, let's switch gears and do the Rise Up video. I think he spent like 50 grand on that video. I think he spent 10 grand just blowing the car up, you know, stuff like that. Like, we're like, all right. I mean, we'll just
Yeah.
We'll just we rolled with it, man. We rolled with all of it. It was cool. It was fun while it lasted. That was a fun couple of years for sure.
Yeah. And like you said, you learn from your mistakes. It was an experience you can laugh about now and say, what were we thinking? But yeah, just it sounds like you had a little bit of fun there, but just you needed to have somebody more business minded to help you get to where you are now.
Well, yeah, because when the record came out, the record was about to drop. This was the release of the record. I got a message from him and it said, I'll be on my yacht for the next 2 months. Don't call, don't text, fuck everybody. It was something like that.
Okay.
Okay.
I'll be banging some supermodel for the next month, so don't bother me.
That's the kind of person he was, man. He just would like whatever, and he could do that because he could, and you know what I mean. He was all over the place, but he and I always we were always cool, man. He was a good dude. So hope he's.
I'm glad. Did he ever give up the record business, or does he still do that?
Oh, I think that was it. I think he just. I think his advisor or whatever was like, dude, you just literally spent $1 million and you got nothing to show for it.
Now he's moved on to something else, I'm sure.
Oh yeah, like we had friends in other bands that were like, dude, can you get us a deal with him? Can you get us a deal like other well bands? Could you God, because nobody could believe how much money he had just given us. I mean, and where we were at, and wasn't like we were Metallica or anything, because we were far from it, and
yeah.
But to get a deal like that because he genuinely liked the band. He was a fan of the band.
It's funny, a fan of a song you have no idea which one he was talking about. Yeah. That's hilarious.
Favorite song. Well, he was saying to me one time, that's how I knew it was his favorite song, was because he's like, hey, you guys are gonna play that song live, right? And we're like, I don't know. I'm just kind of feeding his ego a little bit. I'm like, sure, dude. Yeah, well, I'll play it 5 times if you want, in the set.
Only if you give me $10 million, I'll play it the whole set. I'll play only that one song.
Yeah, he was he meant well though, man. But he just, those guys, they have so much money. They're doing 100 things, man. That was just one of the things that he had and did, and it was like a project for him, and it just, it didn't really work out. I'm not saying it's his fault or anything. It's just everybody involved. It just didn't line up. I mean, everything has to line up when you put a record out. It's not just one person. It has to be the right song. I just didn't think it was the right single to go to radio with, but it's the one he liked. So that's what we went with.
And you never know what's going to be popular with the fans. That might have been the one that maybe you didn't think would be the most popular or the best, but fans did. But yep, like you said, you learned.
It typically works that way. I mean, it always,
a
lot of songs that bands didn't want released. Actually, Always was a song that I remember hearing the story, Wayne and them saying they were literally telling the manager that they were going to quit. They were going to fire everybody if that song came out as the single, and then look what happened.
Oh, wow.
Big songs the band ever had, at least with top 40 and alternative radio. So then they were like, everybody stays, nobody's fired. It's thank you. You know what, man? I knew it all along, man. I knew that song was be the one.
I didn't want to say anything, but I had a feeling that was going to be it.
The checks start suddenly, you see a couple more zeros added to them, and then you see, you see your shows, your capacities growing. Yep. So,
I want to go back a little bit because we were talking about burn season, and I said you were the drummer. The first record executive to express interest was Fred Durst of Limp Bizkit.
Correct.
And
actually, Matt Pinfield.
Okay.
Matt Pinfield was working at Columbia, and he was in Jacksonville because his wife at the time, they had just had a baby, and he was spending a lot of time in Jacksonville, and he worked in New York because, you know, Matt was a big MTV guy. And he had gotten the job with Columbia as A&R, and he would go to the radio station and say, hey, what's the local stuff you have? Any local bands that are worth listening to? And they were like, yeah, this out. And they gave him this CD, and it was like a Native Noise CD, and it had like 15 Jacksonville's top local bands on it. And we were on it. The band at the time was called Smackdown. Dude, I was a high school. I was like I was a senior in high school. And then the singer was a senior too. So Matt came to our rehearsal. We were at Uncle Bob's Storage off 103rd Street in Jacksonville, Florida. And Matt came and watched us rehearse, and was like, man, I really love you guys. But you know, there's this other artist that I really like too. I can only sign one. It's between you guys and this artist. And then my dad had worked with Sam's dad. That's how I met Sam from Limp Bizkit, the bass player. And we've been friends for 22 years, you know, long time. And so Sam got our CD, and he heard it, and he actually went and played it for Fred. And at the time, Fred was the head of Flawless Records, which they had just signed Puddle of Mud, and developed Puddle of Mud. And so he played Fred the CD, and then next thing you know, Danny Wimmer was actually the head of A&R there, which Danny Wimmer is, you know, has all the big festivals now, like Rockville and Carolina Rebellion and all that stuff. So Danny actually calls and leaves a voicemail on my answer machine at home. And it's like, it's Danny Wimmer, Flawless Records. Give us a call. We're really interested in having a chat. So Danny flew and saw us in the rehearsal room, and literally just right there on the spot was like, yeah, I like you two, but not really feeling you two.
Wow.
But the other two guys. And I think he just knew though that because he had asked about the song, who was writing the songs and who was doing stuff. So about a week or two later, he was like, hey, I'm going to fly you guys to LA. We're going to do this deal. We're going to develop you guys. And so I had just graduated high school, and it was August 2001. And then me and the other guy had flown out to LA, and we get off the plane. I'd never been to LA, man. You know, So we get off the plane, and Danny takes us over to Limp Bizkit's rehearsal room. And they're the biggest band in the world at the time. Mm-hmm. Like, they're massively like big. And we get to the rehearsal room, and we walk in, and dude, there they all are. They're all there, like working on new music. And because this would after Chocolate Starfish. So Wes was still in the band. This was before Wes quit. And they're like rehearsing, and me and, you know, I was still 17 at the time, and it was crazy, man. Very, very surreal experience. And I remember Fred just going, we really like what you guys are doing, and we're gonna, you know, you're in good hands with Danny, and you know, I'm busy working on the Bizkit stuff, but I'm gonna find some time, and we're gonna get you guys with the right people and producer and make some stuff happen. And then you know, and I was going to like Fred's house and stuff, like with Danny, and hanging with Fred, and he had just bought Robert Krieger's house from the Doors. And you know, he was really, really cool, man. He had a lot of good things to say. And you know, and I was like a kid, man, you know, just like living it. And 9/11 happened. And when 9/11 happened, that changed everything. It was like pump the brakes. But Puddle had just come out. So Puddle was actually blowing up at the time. Mm-hmm. I know they were doing a lot with them, but 9/11 just kind of freaked everybody out. And so me and the guy flew back to Jacksonville. And when we flew back, because they didn't actually give us a deal. They were supposed to give us a deal, but they just kept like, you know, it just, you know what I mean? We never got the deal done. And our attorney just advised us. He was like, you know, I think you guys should explore some other options because you might be at a dead end there. And so we had like 5 other labels. So we flew up to New York. And then instead of meeting with the other 5 labels, we just signed with the first one, which was Sylvia Rohn at Elektra. And I think that we just wanted somebody to like us for what we were doing. And she just seemed very interested. And the vice president was in there. He was a big fan of what we were doing. And our showcase in there was great. We were just kind of cutting jokes, talking about Motley Crue and Metallica and all these electro bands and stuff. Yeah. And then I think she liked that. And then we played some songs for her acoustically. She was like, this is great. And she was like, well, let's get this deal. Like, don't go to any other labels. Let's do this and whatever you guys want. And that's how it went down. And then, 3-4 months later, the vice president gets fired. Like everybody got cut. A&R guy got fired. We just made our record. We were like, oh my God, dude, what now? And then Rick Ocasek comes in and he's like the VP, whatever, at the label. And he listened to our record and he said it sounded like modern Def Leppard. He said, that's what he said. He's like, I'm not putting this shit out. So
oh man,
we got dropped. And then, he went with Jet, which good choice. Yeah. I think that Jet record is pretty badass. It's kind of hard to compete with. But yeah, so I think they were just kind of going through those changes of, so yeah, I mean, who knows what would have happened if, everything happens for a reason. But, that stories, there's a lot of those LA stories though, like, with the Fred and Danny Wimmer, because I lived with Danny Wimmer. So when 9/11 happened, Danny Wimmer woke me up. He came in the room that I was staying in his apartment, and he said, "Wake up, fucker! We're being attacked." That's what he said.
Wow.
So crazy stuff.
And the rest is history. I'm so glad that you actually stayed friends with Limp Bizkit. And have you either with that band or with Saliva, have you ever done tours with them?
No, actually, never have. I mean, Limp Bizkit's like on a whole other level, man. And I think Fred's always constantly trying to reinvent the wheel for, I mean, they stay true to what they're doing, but just keeping the relevant thing going and always touring with other, bands that are just putting out new stuff or new up and coming artists. He's always been a fan of new artists and helping new artists get discovered. And I think that's awesome because there's not a lot of people that are like that. And I think he's been that way from day one. And I think it goes back to how he got discovered was by giving Korn a demo tape and doing a tattoo for them, and Korn taking them under his wing. And I think that he's giving back to, other artists and bands. Cause the bands that opened for them last night, never heard of any one of them.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
That. Yeah, no, it's great because he pay it forward. I mean, he knows where he came from and he never lost sight of that. And I love that because sometimes you get to another level and not everybody, but some people will forget where they came from and they're better than everybody else. I'm so glad that Fred's not like that. And that he's helping these up and coming bands get some exposure.
Yeah, there's a lot of bands that he helped get deals that people don't even realize, Obviously, the ones like Stained and Cold and, Puddle of Mud. And there's some other bands, but there's bands where I know that he almost bands were on the verge. I won't mention their names, but I mean, I know these are bands that are really, really big today that were on the verge of being dropped before their first record come out. And he'd made a phone call to their president of their label and said, if you don't do something with this band, I'm going to take them and fucking do something with them. And then next thing you know, the person would be like, okay. And they would actually listen. And then those bands, I mean, one of those bands is one of the biggest bands in rock right now, And I know for a fact that story's true.
Wow.
So it's funny how it works, man.
Yep.
He didn't have to pay anybody. You know,
I'm so glad. I love hearing stories like that, and I'm so glad that he's still a humble dude after all these years, and they still sound great. So I know you saw them in concert last night.
Yeah.
All right, so we were talking about this before. You said some people say, "Oh, I saw you with Kiss and Aerosmith," and I know that was a tour that you were not on. So for you,
right,
playing with Saliva, what was your favorite tour?
Do
you have one?
I don't know about a favorite tour.
Okay.
I mean, there's those that I like, or you know, man, there's shows that I can remember. We did Las Vegas, Fremont Street experience in 2019, which was pretty incredible just because the way it looked. Like you're down, you know, in that strip, and like, you know, just all the lights and everything, and there's like 20,000 people. It's crazy how wide and deep it goes back. Which we're doing that again coming up with Theory of a Dead Man, and so that's going to be cool. But there's shows like that I remember. I remember when we did the amphitheater in like Fresno. Was just electric, man. Sometimes just certain venues, man. You know, we did like Rock USA with Avenged Sevenfold one year, and that was like 30,000 people. Like,
wow.
Just, you know, there's those kind of shows for sure that I don't know if there's one particular moment. I really enjoyed going and doing like Dubai. Like we played for the U.S. Air Force Base. Mm-hmm. That was very memorable and cool. And, you know, I was hanging out with, this is back when I still was drinking, and I would go and hang out with them till like 3 or 4 in the morning playing acoustic. Like I would just do like covers in like the bar area. Everyone's like getting tanked, and they were only allowed to have 3 drinks. There, I'm back. They were only allowed to have 3 drinks. That was their limit. But dude, it was so funny because there were some of them where it was like, oh, this person didn't drink or whatever. So they were taking their drinks, and like, you know, they didn't give me a limit at all, but I was, you know, we just had a great time, man. We would stay up. I would sing like Oasis and Britney Spears songs, and just anyone would come out. I was like a jukebox.
I love
like,
it.
Name a song, man. I'm playing Backstreet Boys and just, and there's all these like, you know, Air Force like dudes, man, singing every word, man. They knew all that shit. It's hilarious. So,
you still play solo acoustic shows sometimes?
Sometimes, man. I just haven't had a whole time to do them.
Yeah.
Did a few in the Dallas area recently for a promoter friend. He was doing starting something that he does like pop-up shows where he doesn't tell the venue who's playing. Mm-hmm. And then they buy all the tickets, and then they show up, and then they're completely pissed off when they realize it's me. They're someone way cooler.
I'd be happy if it was you. I'd love to see you live.
He's explaining this to me on the phone, and I'm telling him, I'm like, well, they're gonna be very disappointed when they realize it's me. But you know, no, it was good, great, very respectable, and a lot of the people that are there are more like into the country stuff, but
yeah,
you know, into like the songwriting stuff and hearing stories, and I think it was good. Actually went over a lot better than I expected. So
yeah, I'm happy to hear that. Did you ever hear of a club in Connecticut called Toad's Place? It's a
yeah.
Okay,
yes.
Yeah. It's been around forever. But the reason I bring that up, New Haven,
right.
The reason I bring that up was something similar happened. It was more of a surprise, but they weren't saying, we're not going to tell you which band it is. They just didn't say anything. And the Rolling Stones played there. And people who were just happened to be there seeing some local band they thought saw the Rolling Stones. And so they were in for quite a shock when that happened.
I think it's great when bands do that. I know Aerosmith would do stuff like that. Band, you know, would just show up. Prince used to do that a lot too.
I never had a chance to see Prince. before he died. I wish I did. That would have been a great show. Have you ever had a
Yeah.
chance to see him?
No, I actually tried to go. I was going to go see him years ago when they built our new arena here in Jacksonville. He was the Amber Alert
Oh boy.
in that style, Duval County. Wow.
That's not good.
No. Wow. So yeah, I was gonna see Prince in the new arena here, but they oversold it out. They put where it was like, and that's so he maxed capped the room. The fire marshal was like, there will never be this many people in here again. It was like 19,000 or whatever. The place only holds like 17 or something like that. I don't know how they did it or made it happen, but yeah, what a show that would have been.
Yeah. No, something similar happened when there's another club called The Sting. It no longer exists, but it was a small club and they way overbooked for Pantera. I was in there. I could not move at all. It was just so uncomfortable, but it was way overpacked and it just was not enjoyable for me. But that, yeah, I hate when clubs do that.
When was that?
Oh man, it was, I want to say it was in the late 90s, maybe early 2000s. Was when what year did Walk come out? That album?
Oh, dude, that's like 92.
Okay, so it was 90s then. Yeah.
I was gonna say because Pantera, the club days would have been back then, like early on.
Yeah. It was, so it definitely was during that one. I didn't realize it was that early in the 90s, but it was 92. And now that you mentioned it, I do remember I was it was like 20 something years old. So that sounds right. But yeah,
that would have been something to see. I got to see Pantera. I did see them reinventing the Steel tour, and then saw them with White Zombie in like 96 or 97 or whatever it was.
Yeah.
That they were incredible, man. Like I've never heard a band sound like that loud and that tight.
Oh yeah. Well, that's exactly what it was like where I was, and it was wall to wall people. It's just, and they were phenomenal. I will not deny that.
That's when they were going for it, man. Back in the early, they were on a mission, So
yeah,
that's one band. That's one band that I think I'll always miss for sure, more than any other band, just because, man, like that was my jam. Mm-hmm. Like, growing up, that like Alice in Chains and stuff, and a lot of musicians that we've lost that we'll never see again. But you got the music, live through the music and watch the old videos, man. And it's,
oh yeah, no, that's thank God the music will never die. So they will always have that. And I hear so many great stories from musicians about Dimebag, saying what a great guy he was, how generous he was, how hilarious he was. I have never heard one negative story about that guy.
And Vinny, and they were definitely no egos, all about people having a good time. They would always invite bands and stuff to their houses. I think they just wanted to get everyone so annihilated, like so drunk. They're like they were proving like that nobody could outdrink them or something, and they like to they were into hazing. Dime was very into hazing. Like, new band would come to his house, he'd get them completely hammered. They wouldn't even know it. They were like crawling and puking and but those were as real as it gets, real guys. And unfortunate the way that Dime died was just that's the most sick thing that I think ever. I
can't imagine that. I mean, as a being in the audience, I would probably think it was part of the show first, because I would never expect that to happen. Imagine his own brothers up on stage with him seeing this happen. Yeah, that's just like,
he's never the same. I mean, you just can't, like how do you sleep at night? You just There's no way, man. That's a real life horror movie, right in front of you for anyone that was there, you know. Yeah, and I remember hearing about it like in 2004 December. Yeah, and I remember I was with my girlfriend at the time, and I didn't even think text messaging was around then. I don't remember.
I don't think so.
Or phone call.
I don't think so.
Yeah, so I don't even think. Yeah, it was a text. It was probably something like PRP or a website, and that how you hear about it.
Yeah,
but yeah, I just remember thinking, there's no way this is not real. Like, that's not. How does that happen? Like, who does that? Some sick dude who, thought he was end or something.
Yeah, no, it was such a shame. And I was in just as much shock when I heard about it too. And I can't remember how I heard, but the same thing, like, what, really? So for you though, we'll get back to your music. Do you prefer festivals or the small clubs, and why?
Well, the festivals always make you feel like you're doing something important, You're like, I like festivals because I feel like that's the payoff for me. That's like the time to shine kind of deal. Like, let's go out and rock it and really, really take it up a notch. But the clubs though, I treat them the same. It's like I always go out and I leave the stage with just as sweaty as ever, and hair completely soaked, and same feeling. So I'm grateful that I'm able to play on any stage.
Yeah. No, sometimes I think the clubs have that more intimate feeling, and you get to be right up face to face with your fans. But yeah, I can imagine 30,000 people just rocking and singing your songs. I can imagine that feeling. The funniest thing I ever saw was I saw Bruce Dickinson on the Tattoo Millionaire tour at Toad's Place. And you could tell he is so used to the arenas. He felt so uncomfortable. People were moshing, stage diving, which it was funny watching him do that to Iron Maiden's type of music or his soul stuff. But yeah, he felt so uncomfortable and so out of place. And I remember I actually met him outside by a tour bus. I said, oh, Bruce, you had a great night. He goes, would you like to trade places with me, mate? Like, he just did not want to be there. He was more used to like being at the for in Connecticut, the Civic Center or big arena.
I saw D. Snyder back in like 96 at a small club in Jacksonville. And you can tell, man, like, he hated it. Yeah. He was kicking the light. He pulled like a lighting can off the thing because it was just one white light, and he was so pissed. But I mean, think about it though, like, those guys were in bands that were playing arenas and kind of on top of the world and all over MTV at one time, and then you like playing like small clubs. It's a reality check for sure.
Yeah.
But some guys, they do it the same. They go out and they treat it like they're in an arena, and just, but there's other guys too. It's hard to come down from that, I guess. Yeah. But yeah.
Well, did it well, which I was surprised because he put on such elaborate stage shows, was Ronnie James Dio. I've seen him plenty of times in the Last in Line tour, Holy Diver, and he had the Dragons. Then towards the later years, he'd be playing small clubs. There's one in Hartford called the Webster, which is an old movie theater. But you could tell unless he was faking, which I don't think he was, from what I know, people that met him say he was very genuine. He was having a great time. He was interacting with the audience, and he just put on a great show regardless of what he could do with his stage set. And, he was used to playing all the big places with Sabbath, Rainbow, and the old days. So but he seemed like he was always appreciative. He was still there.
I think it's accepting where you're at and what you're, what it is.
Yeah.
It's like you can be pissed off about it, but it's not going to change.
Mm-hmm.
It's not going to change the stage you're on. It's just like, you got to just make do with what you have and just be grateful that you are able to do it.
Yeah. And you still have the fans coming to show up and they want to see it. So I'd be grateful for that. So
10 or 10,000, man. That's what it means.
Exactly. I love that mentality. Now, for you, your music has been featured in movies such as The Fast and Furious, Talladega Nights, WWE. Do you have anything that you're going to be doing with your music in the future or currently?
Man, yeah. Hopefully we'll get some. You always want to try to get in some placements and stuff like that. But I don't know anything in particular. I mean, we're just now getting the record done and ready for like release. So we haven't really gotten that far yet, but yeah,
Right.
it'd be cool.
Yeah, it's always great. Well, Bobby, you know what was great? Having you on my show. I really do appreciate you coming here. I know we've been going back and forth trying to get the best time, best day. I really do appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the show. But before you go, though, I want to do some plugs for you. So what's next and where can people find you?
Well, we're going to be touring. We're going out June. Otherwise, Ninth Planet. And we got a bunch of stuff in July and August and the rest of the year. Hopefully the record will come out late summer. And yeah, we just can't wait. The fans are why we do this. I want to say that all the fans that have been supporting rock and roll in general has been huge, because like all these festivals that are going on, they thrive because of the people that have been, the supporting it. It's almost like, they look forward to that every year. It's cool when you read about people that go to a festival and then they're already looking forward to the one next year. It's just a part of their life now. And without them, these festivals don't exist. These bands don't exist. And so, yeah, I think it all, from day one, it always starts with the fans, man. So,
yeah. Well, keep up the great work. And once again, thank you very much for being on the show. I look forward to seeing you. Are you going to be coming to the Connecticut, Rhode Island, New York area?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Let's, and if not, I'll call my agent and tell him we need to. So,
Oh yeah. Yeah. You have, I'm sure there's many more, but I will definitely be there in the front row, rocking away to Saliva. So
awesome, man.
look forward to
All
it.
right.
Have a great
See ya.
night. That
All right,
wraps
thanks.
up the latest episode of the Claus Corner. A huge thanks goes out to vocalist, songwriter, and producer Bobby Amaru for taking time out of his busy schedule to be on the show. I would also like to thank the extremely talented John Bristol of Elmwood Productions for always doing a superb job editing this show week after week and making it available for you, the audience. And last but definitely not least, I need to thank you, the viewer, for tuning in. Enjoy your day, everyone.
Short stories, now available in one collection. Confessions of a Frenetic Mind, 5 tales of blood-curdling terror, available on Amazon and Barnes & Noble.
All of a sudden I hear, brim, brim.
What's a diaphragm again?
Ha! We caught one.
They're supposed to be weird.
Oh, yeah, no. If you say so.
I've always wanted to be in a movie.
Around for all the